biggest question I get a lot is, how can I connect with the other side? How can I communicate? And there is no real simple way to just say, follow these top 10 guidelines and you can do it. There's a lot that has to come into play, and a lot of it has to do with yourself. What I want to do today is kind of share certain words you need to think of that are very important. It's not just one thing, two things. It's a bunch of things that you have to instill upon yourself. Today, when we look at connecting with the other side, there's two things that I use a lot, either technology or my spirituality, what I believe about the other side, how I feel, and what I know. Of course, you can use the radio box, you can use EVPs to communicate with spirits, whether they're local or if they're not local, meaning that they've crossed over. But when you want to connect on a spiritual level, there's a lot of things that you need to consider. And it's not just getting a Ouija board and talking to somebody. It's not just meditating and assuming that you're going to start channeling or getting messages that come across. Belief, of course, is the most important thing. When you believe in somebody, you believe in your team, that you're going to win. You believe in your government. You believe in your God. Belief can make things stop at a standstill, and some things can affect you emotionally. How many times has it been when you have something bothering you so much, you're so depressed, you're so upset, and all of a sudden you get this phone call and it completely changes in a second, and you just feel great. But yet for the whole week you were so depressed and so upset, now you feel wonderful. You see how a belief can just completely empower you or can cripple you. So when it comes to connecting with the other side, you first have to ask yourself, do you believe in the other side? Do you believe in spirits? Do you believe in ghosts? If the answer is no, well, guess what? You're going to have a hard time ever connecting, because then you're never going to notice that they're actually there, listening or wanting to communicate. The biggest thing, too, is your ego. You have to eliminate the ego. I can't tell you how many people I've met. Well, I'm a psychic, too, and I'm sensitive, and I talk to ghosts all the time. Really? That's great. Wonderful. But then when you see what they do, it's all about themselves. And it can't be that. When you are in a communication that is going back and forth and it's mutual, there is no ego. The best business relationships, there isn't an ego involved. It's for the best of both to be successful or to make money or accomplish something. So you have to look at, if I'm going to communicate with the other side, I have to put my ego away. When you begin to do that, you begin to eliminate your fantasy, your thoughts, your opinions of what you feel or assume it should be. So right off the bat, eliminate the ego. And then you have to know what you're doing. When I say know, you have to know that you can communicate. Of course you believe it, but then you have to know that it's going to happen. And the knowledge are the things that we're going to talk about right here. Once you understand the knowledge, you can start putting these principles into play. But the biggest thing is intent. What is your intent? Is your intent to just talk to somebody because you want your belief to be that there is another side, that there are spirits, there are angels? If your intent is to help somebody else, then I think it's a little bit more powerful. When we take a look at the human body, we look at the cells. The cells, of course, become everything in existence when something's alive, whether it's plants or animals or even us. The one thing that scientists can't figure out is when our cells multiply, they're all identical. Yet these identical cells, as they grow, some of them will grow an arm, some will grow a leg, some will grow a torso. How do they know how to do that? Because they're all identical. The thing is the intent. The intent of that new cell is different than the intent of the other cell that it just came from. That intent is to create the arm. That intent is to create the leg. So when you want to communicate with the other side, you have to find out what is the intent. If I have someone that has passed away and I want to communicate with them, what is my intent in communicating with them? Is it because I'm very upset and I'm depressed and I feel that they need to talk to me so I feel better? Or is it that I want to talk to them because I do miss them and I love them and I know that they love me And let's use that love as the intent to connect. That is going to be a quicker way up there than anything else. When I've talked to spirits and I've asked, I can tell you this one thing. Family doctor I had for many years, he had passed away 2 years ago. And I'd heard about it, but I didn't know how he died. And for some strange reason, I'm in my car and I'm thinking, he popped into my head. And I'm like, God, I wonder what happened to him, how he died. He was such a great doctor. All of a sudden I hear him say, I had a heart attack. I'm like, whoa, is that my mind just saying that, my ego just saying that, or is that actually him? He goes, no, it's me. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm driving in my car, all of a sudden you pop into my head and you tell me this. How do I really know it's you? He's like, well, how do you know it's not? And I'm like, true. He goes, you mean you could just think of somebody, and all of a sudden they pop into your head, or you get the message. He goes, well, it's like this. He's like, you pray, right? Yeah, what do you think a prayer is? Well, you're kind of saying something to yourself, you're on your knees, you put your head up, and you're sending that message up there, hopefully that someone's going to read it and going to get it. Because it's the same thing, if you want to communicate with us, but there has to be an intent. Because your intent was, when you were thinking about me, was like, God, he was such a great doctor. I trusted him so much. Whenever I would not go to anybody else, when I went to him, he would take the time and show the love and the attention by sitting there and looking me in the eye, telling me what was wrong, and we would talk about something else. That intent I had was that relationship that we had. That honesty, that trust. That was part of that intent when I thought of him. Because those emotions clicked on inside of me for a few seconds when I was thinking about him. Well, those emotions were sent right up there. He felt those emotions like, oh, somebody's thinking about me. Their intent is pure. And that way he was able to connect. So when you have a pure intent, and mostly out of love, or respect or appreciation, you're going to have a very easier time in connecting with the other side. People that just want to do it for jokes and for this and that, and don't even believe, well, there's no purpose to drive that connection. The other thing is, what is your mindset? You cannot sit here and put yourself into a meditative state or try to connect if you're worried about the bills you got to pay, the relationship you're in. I have to be somewhere in 15 minutes, that type of stuff. You're not going to be able to do that. So your mindset has to be pretty much clear and focused, eliminating the ego. There's all these things you're going to do consciously in your mind before you begin to shut it down and focus. The other thing too is drugs, alcohol, lack of sleep affects your vibration. If you're sick or you have an illness, that also, as we'll pretty much know, affects our senses. Sinuses, a sore throat, hearing, tired. I'm tired right now. I'm exhausted, drained. But I can overcome that by increasing my vibrations and my intent and focus. That alone, mentally, will increase the energy level that you have, standing up straight, clearing your mind, believing, understanding. How many people in this room that sometimes you've been very sick or just so depressed or whatever, and then you have to go do something and you don't do a good job? It's just terrible, right? You're kind of like embarrassed. You're like, God, it was such a, but I got it done. It's done. But then how many of you have been sick, same situation, but you had to do something, you stepped up to the plate, you overcame it, and you accomplished it, amazing results. Boom, I did it. Wow, I couldn't believe it. I had a 100-degree temperature, I was sick, achy, and I did this incredible thing. Would I have been able to do that if I was perfectly healthy? You overcame that, so your vibration went up to a level beyond that. You have to do that too, if you want to connect. One way, of course, to do that, as we pretty much know, is to meditate. And it's hard for me to meditate. And I'm sure it's hard for some of us here because you're easily distracted. I've got ADD and all these other things that pop into my head. So for me to sit still is terrible. But the one thing I do to focus is I will either light a candle and I will look at that flame and just focus on it. And all of a sudden, everything from today will be in my head, and then it'll slowly start to disappear, and all I see is that flame, and it becomes very hypnotic, and sometimes I go to sleep and I don't get to meditate. But sometimes, I begin to focus, and then everything clears, and I see this white light and this purity, and then I'm able to see those that I'm talking to. And another thing I always do, talking about the vibration, is I had this like little chime, and I would hit the chime a few times, and I would just kind of, not rub it all over my body, I would just bring it around my body, because the tone alone sets one tone frequency that begins to balance the whole body. We get bombarded with cell phones, EMF frequencies, other people's emotions. You know, if you're around somebody that's being so negative, man, I hate my life, this stinks, today's terrible, that's what I'm, how you doing, right? And you're just like, well, you don't want to tell them, I had a great day at work, got a raise, got all this other stuff, and this person just, bump them out more. So you walk away with all this negative energy attached to you. But when you create this frequency and vibration, internal and external, get a chime, get some type of tone or whatever, and just pull it around you as it's going off. And it's just like, I feel things detach themselves from me. It's just unbelievable. And I feel this little chill and this vibration go to the back of my neck, which is the sixth sense, shoot up to my head, go to my body, like, all right, I'm getting rid of it. It's detaching, focusing. Now I can start meditating. Now I can start beginning to connect with the other side. But one thing I learned that was so interesting, we did a seance at the Goldfield Hotel. I can't remember the celebrity we were doing. I think it was Howard Hughes. And Mark and Debbie Constantino were with us. And we were doing the seance, and I started to channel, but I did not want to channel this entity because it was negative, and I knew that right away. So I was forcing it out. The interesting thing was Mark and Debbie were recording for EVP. They recorded the whole session. And on that particular moment, when we play back the audio, you hear the male entity going, breathe me in. Because it was trying to get into me as a walk-in or possession, to speak through me, and it was trying to time itself with my breath to get in. Now this is what's really interesting, is that I had never realized this, but it makes complete sense, is the only thing keeping us alive, pretty much, our spirit and soul, is our breath. We stop breathing, we die. Our soul will leave the body. Well, spirits and souls and ghosts don't have to breathe. They don't need oxygen. We're on a different level. But for them to get into us, they have to time that breathing so that they're in. Because if they just get in, they'll be like, oh, figure out how to breathe. They can't stay in because they're trying to be alive again in the third dimension. Their vibration is slowing down. And the breath is what keeps them in the body. So, does that mean you just don't breathe so you get no, you're going to pass out. Right? But the thing was, is as I was breathing, and you watch some of the best masters in meditation that are so enlightened, they totally know how to shut off their breathing or concentrate and focus on their breathing. It is so important. I know John will tell you the same thing. Oliver. Is when you focus on the breathing, you put yourself into a state, a meditative state, a certain vibration and frequency that is very calm and open to the other side. So keep that in mind. There are many different lessons out there and classes you can take, CDs you can get on how to meditate. They're probably all good, and it starts with that too. But when you want to deal with spirits and connect with them, you have to realize that there's a forgiveness that comes into play. I talked a little bit about this yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it a little more. Between good entities and bad entities, why you would ever want to talk to the bad entities, I have no idea. You don't want to deal with that. You want to talk to the enlightened beings, the higher powers, that type of stuff, the angels. So you want to have a higher frequency, a higher vibration. But you have to understand within your heart and everything that there may be times when you do get these other entities, or that you're going to be talking about somebody that's going to need help or needs to cross over. And you have to learn about forgiveness. The biggest thing in life is forgiveness and love. There can be nothing else. You strip everything away and there's just love. And the only way you can fully accomplish love and reach that unconditional love is with forgiveness. Forgiving yourself and forgiving others. If you can't forgive yourself, how can you ever forgive someone else? You can say, yeah, I forgive you, but you're just pounding on yourself. You can't look them in the eye, because even though you're trying to forgive them, you are embarrassed of what you've done or ashamed or whatever, and you're not forgiving yourself. So it's not on the equal level. Understanding this is important, not so much for yourself to connect, but understand how the other side works. It is complete forgiveness on the other side. They wouldn't be up there if they couldn't forgive one another. Everything they think and everything they do is known to one another. All their minds are open to share. So if you can't forgive yourself about something you did, it's going to have a hard time over there because it's going to be exposed to everybody. And keep that in mind. And of course, the love. There is such amazing love on that other side. When you're able to connect with it, you don't always feel all of it, trust me. Sometimes you might feel 1 or 2%. Unless you have a full out-of-body experience and you go over there. Or they send you some love because you really need it. But when you attach yourself to it, you feel just this, there's nothing to worry about on that other side. You just feel a little bit of this love that's channeling down through you. It's wonderful, but it's only a couple %. Because we're still trapped in this body. We can't fully comprehend it. We can't fully understand it. Our mindset is still attached to things in this plane. But with the intent, the knowledge, and the belief, and all these other words that I've talked about that are so important in learning how to connect, love is the #1 reason of wanting to do this and to connect with them. And the intent to speak to them is the love of the knowledge, of the respect, of the appreciation that they give you. Back in 1992, it was 92 or 93, I was going through a financial hard time. It really wasn't that bad. For me, I thought it was bad. But it got worse. But at that precise moment, I was sitting there going, man, I've got this credit card debt and everything in my account. Goes, oh, you're going to get it all back, And, which he was not telling me the whole truth, but I said, how am I going to pay this off? He said, we're going to get all this money back, and he's going to be able to pay it off. I'm like, oh, that's great. And I was so happy, and I was the only one living in the house. My mom had moved out a few years ago, and my sister moved out, and I had this 2-story home by myself for a couple of years. And I'm walking down the hallway, and we lived on this hill, and the whole day the sun had not been out at all. There was a bay window in the master bedroom, this big old French village room, this master bedroom, and I just started, for some reason, I was praising God, just saying, I am so happy, I don't have to worry anymore, And I'm closing my eyes and I'm just singing this song that probably was completely ridiculous. But I was just sitting there imagining I was in front of these angels and everything, I was in heaven, and I really felt I was there. It was really wild. And I'm just singing, and I'm not even paying attention to where I'm going, and I go to the bay window, and I'm just like, and all of a sudden I felt this warmth, just in light, totally encompassed my face. And I just was like, whoa. And I look, and through the bay window was this beam of light that had just cut through the clouds and come down right through the bay window. And within those 7 to 10 seconds, as I looked, the entire neighborhood, seeing all the roofs of everywhere in the whole city, there was no light anywhere except coming through the bay window. And all of a sudden I just looked up and I felt this unconditional love that, my God, if I could bottle this and give this to everybody, you guys would be the happiest people in the world. And I just felt this, and tears started streaking down because I could not believe I was feeling this. And I dropped to my knees, and I'm just sitting there going, I feel it. And all it was recognition. That's it. Because I, at that precise moment, got so pure in my intent and my love and everything. I didn't care about anything. I was saying, thank you so much. Thank you. They were just acknowledging and sending that back. And as I watched as the light just went back up and the cloud just closed, and I just sat there going, and that went back to like reality, so to speak, where I didn't feel it anymore. And I was like, that was incredible. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, this didn't just happen. I called my friends. There's 2 friends of mine who were born Christians. Like, well, you're not going to believe this, And they're like, oh, sure, okay, whatever. And I realized that it was for me. The experience was for me. But the thing was, is in a couple of days, I went into this total depression because it was gone. That feeling I had. I remember a bit of it, but not at that precise moment. It was so overwhelming. It's that love that exists all the time on the other side. All the time. When you understand that, you realize some of the levels of the entities and the spirits you'll be dealing with. The openness you have to have in communicating and connecting with these spirits is that, it depends upon what your purpose and intent is. If you're doing it just to communicate to help other people, you have to be open, saying, listen, I'm here for what you need to help these people. Allow the information to come through so I can give it to them. And it's not about me. It has nothing to do with me, just them. I'm not going to assume or do anything like that. Your spirit is what connects you from this level to that level. We have a soul. That's when we're out of the body. You got the body, you got the soul, and you got the spirit. The spirit connects your soul to the other side. And that spirit, I mean, it's similar when you say team spirit, stuff like that. You know, spirit for the team or for the school, whatever. It connects you to that school, to that team. The spirit connects you to the other side. Your spirit's pure, filled with love and all these things, then you can also connect. But you're not limitless in doing this. It is amazing what you can accomplish and believe when you understand that the spirit world can connect to all of us. All of us. As I said yesterday with the apple, you cut the apple to 1 million pieces, you got 1 millionth of the piece. I don't care who you are, what religion you are, what color, what part of the world, we're all connected to the same thing. Just over many, many generations and thousands of years and wars and religions, we've been to separate ourselves. But when you realize, physically, we all came from something. Whether you believe in creationism or you believe in evolution, it doesn't matter. We all came from something physically, and we expanded. Same thing is spiritually with the conscious energy of who we are, coming from the Creator and expanding across the universe. So when you understand that physically we're all connected, we just have different personalities and some different intentions, beliefs, behaviors, but we're still connected. Same thing spiritually, you begin to realize, well, why couldn't I connect with the other side? Because we're all brothers and sisters. We all come from the same place. The question is, how do you do it? Like I've said, with all these things, is you use all these things in beginning to build who you are so that you can connect. But when the information comes to you, even though it might be in bits and pieces, you don't have to necessarily understand it. It's not really your job. Your job is to deliver the message, whether it's an image, whether it's a word. As a sensitive, when I do spiritual consultations for people, I will get images, I will get thoughts, I will get emotions, I will get feelings. The worst thing I can do, and I've seen psychics do this, is they begin to put a whole story together. And they tell the person the whole story, and then that's not what it is. Because they assume, well, this might mean this, or might mean that. It's not your job. Tell the person what you're seeing or feeling. That would probably affect them if it has something to do with them. But you can't ever assume that because I'm getting this, because I'm getting that, then it means this. Who just said it mean that? Did they say it or did you say it? Never ever assume. We know this when we look at successful businesses, successful sports programs. Never assume that because you're going to run this football route and you're going to cut out, the guy's going to go back, you're going to be wide open. You have to react to the situation. In a business, never assume that that package is going to get there on time. Right? Get it tracking. Make sure it gets there. If that's really important to you, important to that client. It's the same thing. If you get this image, write down the image. Think of what the image is. And then ask, what do you mean about this? What are you trying to say? I'm going to talk just about a couple of things that I do. And the most important thing, whenever you try to connect, is you want to document this. You want to record it, whether it's audio. You want to write it down into a journal. Because you want to see your progression and the information that you're getting. When I do a spiritual consultation, I'll tell you exactly what I do. It's very simple. I don't do tarot cards. I don't do any of these other things because then I'm relying on something else to kind of guide me. I will rely on the invisible to guide me to them. That's where I want the information to come from. So I will sit and meditate for 10 or 15 minutes. When I do phone consultations, I will sit there and meditate. The first thing I do is I sit down Indian style, and I'll take the little chime, and I'll hit the chime, and I put it all around me to get the vibrations and frequencies away from me, and align myself, and then I'll say, okay, I want to connect to the ground, to the earth, so I'm balanced, I'm grounded. So I will take that silver cord into the chakra. I don't even know the name of the chakra. Really bad. Doesn't seem to matter to them, but I will say, okay, attach itself to the middle chakra, go down into the earth, and then I see that in my head being aligned and attached. And then I will say I'll have the gold cord go all the way up to the universe to where the Creator is and all the angels, the Akashic records. And then once that's done, which is only a minute or two, I will basically get on my knees and just tell them I'm here. I said I put them outside my ego, who I am. This has nothing to do about me. I'm not asking for anything. All I'm asking is please give me information, whatever it may be, that is going to help this person and guide me with it. I'm at your service. And then I have a little sketch pad there, and all of a sudden images, names, whatever start coming through, and I start jotting it down. Sometimes it might be a couple words, and I'm like, well, that's not going to help them, you know? And they're like, well, it's because this is going to jog something that more information is going to come. It's going to be on a need-to-know basis. But then sometimes I've had 2 or 3 pages, and I can't stop. It's insane. The person calls, the person meets with me, and then I just start reading everything to them. I said, okay, they're talking about this, and this. Do you know what this means? Whatever. And I won't have them say anything. Why? Because I want this information to be true. And they say, no, I don't know what it is. And if it's not for them, I'm going to cross it off. So I don't know what this is, or we'll come back to it. But then once you got all the information, you got it all jotted down, you say, okay, what do you want me to focus on first? And then you'll see you get guided to certain things you have to talk about. And it's amazing, the stuff that comes out. Because you're like, where did this come from? And it goes into people's pasts, to their childhoods. It goes into their parents' lives before, the generations. You see how we're all connected. This information has always existed, will always exist. The thing is following these certain principles of your intent, your belief. It's that simple, really. But when you can put it all together, you can begin to connect. And people say, well, how do I know? You have to listen. Listen. When you meditate, you look at your intent, your belief, and all that. You think of those things, you get to that level. When you're sitting there, you attach yourself to the ground, and you said, okay, universe, here I am. You're not saying anything. What are you doing? You're talking. Wait. Listen. When you look at, was it Jane Roberts and these other people I can't remember that talked to Abraham. Does anybody remember their names?
Jerry and Mr. Hicks.
Right. When you look at their stories and how they began to communicate, they were meditating and opening themselves up like day after day for 15, 45 minutes. And nothing was coming through. They were being patient. The universe will say, you know what? You're not supposed to connect with us. Okay, you got too much going on in your life. We're not going to connect with you. That might happen to you. Not everybody can connect because it might not be your purpose. But I guarantee you, at least every single person in this room at one time or another has had a dream that's come true. Something popped into their head and that person's right there. Oh, my friend's going to call me on the phone. All of a sudden the phone rings. Somebody you haven't heard from for a long time. You're watching a football game. All of a sudden you get an image. That punt's going to get blocked. We're going to pick it up and go all the way for a touchdown. And it happens like, whoa, how did I know that? You know, you've all connected into an event that is about to occur or something about somebody from the past, present, or future because we're all a part of that. And that ability that you have sometimes crosses with that timeline or that event and you are able to absorb it. You can do these techniques, and these aren't really techniques, they're just mindsets, things you have to think about, things you have to focus on. And you can become more intuitive. You can connect with the other side when you meditate and you attach yourself and say, hey, I'm listening. And if it doesn't come right away, you keep doing it. The worst thing that can happen to you is that you don't get anything, but you're able to clear your mind and calm yourself down and think a little bit more clearly. That is not a bad thing for somebody that's always got stuff going on in their head. You have to put it to use. You have to practice. I'm going to take basically questions because I thought, I could go through more about this, but I want people that have questions to ask me now and I can expand upon some of the things that I've talked about. And we've got a good 20 minutes that we can do this. So I gave you a basic overall of how I do it, what words are important to me in accomplishing that. The one thing, of course, I've had experiences my whole life, and as a child, and that helped open up things to me to where I can communicate. Some people may get in a car accident, have an out-of-body experience, and all of a sudden they've reestablished that connection. Some people may wake up one morning and then something happened that night and now they can communicate. And there's some people, we found out that it is harder, but some people that practice these techniques, practice these mindsets, and then they are able to communicate. There is no switch that you can just turn on for everybody and it works. It's based on who you are as a spirit and soul, why you're here, and the determination you have already decided before you came here, as well as they have, whether or not you're going to have high levels or low levels of these psychic abilities to be able to communicate. But the one thing you can do is always improve on what you do have. Anybody have the first question? Yes.
I'd like to know, you mentioned that you have negative entities that try to attach to you or whatever you call it. How do you know that they're working on you, and how do you keep them out?
Okay. I think someone may have touched on that already this weekend. I think my focus was more going to be on this, but it's hard because there are things. Okay, no, sure. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The question she had is, how do you know if you have negative entities attached to you? How do you really know they're working on you? And how can you get rid of them? Well, the one thing is sometimes you don't know, because we live in a world where there's roadblocks. There's problems, it's part of life, bumps in the road. Does it mean there's a demon or a devil sitting there going, I cut your pay, you know what I mean? I got you sick, whatever. No, not at all. It's just part of life. But then there are some entities that will make you feel depressed, will make you do things you don't want to do, and stuff like that, sometimes. Or just drain your life energy, what they love to do. It's hard. You don't know because it's invisible. The one thing they have said is that we don't want anybody to believe that they exist, because if they do, then they're going to be watching their backs. They're going to be wondering who's pulling their strings. That's the one secret the devil wants. He doesn't want people to believe him. He doesn't want to know he exists. He loves the skepticism. It's tough. I can't fully answer that. But what I can tell you is there are times where I go, I'm not myself. And if I realize it's not going away, and I start realizing that, hey, that's not me, that's not this, maybe I have something attached to me, I'll do certain things. I'll do the vibration thing. Oh, man, that gets real. I love it. I'll take a white candle. If it's really bad, I'll take dead sea salt. And I will rub that all over me with lemons, believe it or not. A friend of mine that does channeling told me about this. First time I did this, I took lemons, fresh lemons, organic lemons, and I took dead sea salt. And I go, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. I'm standing there completely naked, and I'm rubbing myself with lemons, and I'm looking in the mirror going, this is ridiculous. Ooh, it burns. Don't shave before you do it. Do not do that. So I'm rubbing it all over me. And then I just went there and I sat in the tub one night. And when I got out and wiped myself off, I cannot tell you how incredible I felt. Because it was the first time I did it. I felt vibrant, I felt energetic, I felt clean, I felt pure. It was amazing. Because for all these years, these 20-something years, I had all this stuff attached to me. And I got it off. So occasionally when it gets really bad, I will do that. That is psychological, but is also somehow, some way, some vibrational thing that it does because of the Dead Sea crystals that are on there. So that's one thing to do. The other thing is I have friends, but I have friends here that are psychics and sensitive that say, hey, are you sensing, yeah, you got something in your house. You got something attached to you. I said, I know. And they will work on doing healings. I had this one friend married in Colorado. And I said, you know what, I think there's something in my house. I'm just down and this and that. And she was, okay, I'm going to work on it tonight. I said, all right, great. So I'm laying in bed. I'll never forget this. I'm laying there, and all of a sudden I hear this, and it goes right by, and I'm just like, it was a shriek, like, was not human. And it went shooting through the hallway of my house, through my bedroom, and through the wall. And I was like, what the heck was that? And I'm just like, I called her the next day. I said, hey, it feels different in my house. She goes, yeah, I did. She was, you had a nasty one in there. It wouldn't go, and it was screaming all the way out of the house. And I'm like, what time did you do that at? Oh, she goes, I did it right around midnight. I go, oh my God. I'm not kidding you. I heard it. And I felt it shoot through the house. I'm like, that was horrific. So I knew what she was doing was real, and I realized, my God, I did something in my house. So it's like you got to, it's like pest investigators or something. Come in and they're going to cleanse your house, rodents. But, it's tough. If you've got friends, they can read you, they can see, but you can do simple things at home. You can take a white candle and just meditate. You can take the chime, you can take the Dead Sea salt and lemons. That helps. But the other thing, too, is your faith. You got to let your faith purify you. Next.
Are you talking about non-human spirits? Was that what that was?
I don't know if it was non-human or it was some low-level entity that was human at one time. I have no idea. It did not sound like it was ever human. Okay? But there are things that can attach itself to you that are human at one time. Like we were at Excalibur, this nightclub. We did an investigation there, and there was this gothic type ghost entity that was there. And she was very dark. And I walked over to her, and I didn't like the feeling, made me kind of sick. And I said, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "Leave me alone." She just, I believe she was, "I'm waiting for tonight." No, it wasn't tonight. I'm waiting for tomorrow when people start coming in. I said, "Well, what do you do?" She was, "I just feed off of people." I'm like, "Get out of here." I go, "Explain this to me." She was, "Well, when people come in, they've been drinking, they take drugs, and some of the kids would suffer on ecstasy." She was, "I used to do that. I got into a car crash." She was, "So I will slip into them. I will feel that euphoria. I will feel that high and everything, and I'll make them do more. And then before they get sick or they collapse, slip out of them. That's how I continue. I can't let go of that high. I'm still addicted to it." I'm like, "No freaking way." I said, "Yeah, so you're like some type of vampiric type entity where you feed off of the high and then you'll release yourself?" "Yeah, I don't believe you." "Really?" I said, "Okay." The director said with the camera, I said, "I dare you. Why don't you slip into me? Come on. I want to feel your presence." And I'm sitting there going like this. All of a sudden, Maria's filming. She goes, I go, "What's wrong?" She goes, "I don't know. Chris." And then boom, she goes backwards on this metal chair, almost slashed her entire back, almost. This thing was very sharp. Goes down and she's shaking violently. So everybody comes over. I go, "What's wrong?" Because I'm thinking, is she faking this for TV or something? I go, "What's going on here?" And she's like, she gets up, she goes, "Get him out." She starts screaming, "Get him out of my head, get him out of my head." And we had to remove her. And I'm like, "What the heck?" And she goes, "I'm okay, I got a job to do, I got to come back." She comes back to do it again, and then it happens again. We had to literally remove her from the location. What had happened was this thing says, "Well, I'm not going to do it to you, I'm going to show you. I'm going to do it to her." Because it knew that I would try to trap her, I'd do something to it, right? So it went after her because she was weaker. And I sat there going, "Oh my God, this could really happen." I was at a bar, and I had a couple drinks, so I was a little lost. I was out with my friends. We're at this one bar. And he's got my car keys, and I got to go in there. And one boss would let me go there. We're closing in 15 minutes. You're going to wait. I'm like, "No, dude, I got to go in there." I go, "Come on, I got to get the keys. I want to get home." "No, dude." And I just, all of a sudden, I started going towards him. I go, "Want to fight him, attack him." And I go, "Whoa!" And I step back like this. Something just went out of me, and I'm like, "Oh my God." And then I was, my normal mindset and everything. Something had slipped in because I was kind of weak, wasn't totally in control of myself, and wanted me to do something to put me into a situation that we could laugh about later on. So when I saw this happening, I was like, and there's more stories like this. I've had people turn to me and start saying stuff, and then they don't remember ever saying it because it was someone else that slipped in just to teach me a lesson. And when these things happen, you're like, whoa. So they do happen. The best way to protect yourself is just be aware of it, that it can happen. And if you're, hey, get out of here. You know what I mean? Yes.
Well, I had a really weird experience that never happened to me before. It was about 3 months ago, and I laid down to go to sleep, and I was laying there. And I remember I went to turn over, and all of a sudden there was something really dark. It was almost like just a spot. It was really dark. I remember kind of came like this at me, and I remember thinking, I said out loud, I said, "Get away from me." And then I just felt this really hold on me. Just like you could turn over and yell out. Because I knew my husband was over there. And so then I remember thinking, when you say the name Jesus Christ, it's very protective. So I just tried to say Jesus Christ. I said like 3 times and finally got really strong. And I was able to say Jesus Christ. My husband woke up, got up, walked across the bathroom, and everything was fine. I felt really clean. And that's...
The thing is, you can call upon something like that too. The people understand Jesus and some of these other people that came here, whatever your belief is about Jesus or not, here's someone that was so pure, so wonderful, that had a connection, a complete connection of unconditional love and stuff like that. They don't like that. They don't like someone that's like that or has that power, that capability, or that energy, and they will retreat because then it serves them no purpose. They like the people that are weak, that are not in control of themselves, that are mentally problems, that type of stuff, so they can feed on, do whatever they want. They like those types of puppets. So if you're perfectly stable, everything you have to worry about. Yes?
Oh, sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis, is that some form of possession or is that astral projection?
Or is it actually just a psychological thing that can happen to your body? It's all of those things. Sleep paralysis does occur. You go into some fear state, your body can't move. There's a psychological reason for that, physical reason. Okay? But entities can do the same thing, you know? And people have had possessions or whatever, an entity comes in and they're frozen, they can't even move because they put a psychological thing on you, they freeze you, they meditate, I can't remember the name of it, but they'll do something to you where you can't move. I had that happen to me as a child a couple times, where I could not even move and there was something right there. You know, was it my fear or was it the ability? I think it was an energy they put over me that I could not move. When we were doing a James Dean episode, we went to Bakersfield. There was this, used to be a track where James Dean raced cars and stuff. We went back to the hotel. While I'm in the hotel room, going to sleep, it's about 1:30 in the morning. I just turn the light off. I get in bed and I can't sleep. I'm tossing and turning. I'm laying there. All of a sudden, I feel as if something's slowly starting to lay down on my feet and it's moving up towards my shins, towards my knees. But what it was is it became so heavy I could not even move my feet. It was slowly becoming paralyzed. It was moving its way up. I'm like, what the heck is happening to me? But I was so amazed by this feeling, this sensation. I was like, I can't even feel my feet or my legs anymore. It's moving up. As it was getting up to my torso, a mist, this green turquoise type of mist, started to manifest at the side of the bed and started to turn into something.
Oh.
Whether it was an entity or a ghost, I have no idea. I didn't let it get that far. I said, get the F out of here. I went like this, went right through it, and shot out of the room, boom, right off me. So, was it draining my energy slowly up to my body, my life force, using that energy to manifest? And is it possible that energy to manifest allows it to be into the physical to where now it can touch me? Whether it was a succubus, an incubus, or whatever, or whether it was just some entity, it was taking my life energy so it could now coexist in my realm. You understand that? How it does it, I don't know.
Chris, would prayer have the same effect? You yelled at it. Would prayer have the same effect?
Yes. But what was behind my words? My experience and knowledge that I believe in God and that I'm connected with God and my angels come down anytime I want. So those words of get the F out of here was like, if you don't, I'm going to call upon them to help and they will be there. Right? He stood up to me. Because many years of experience had built up to that faith and belief. Yes?
How do you prevent, I've seen some of your new fantasy videos, and sometimes, like when I was asking about Federal Watch, and you said that Georgian talent came in your body and you would sense it. How do you prevent the spirits from coming in? Because I've also seen you say, oh no, I'm not channeling here when you're at that.
How do you prevent the spirits from coming in? Well, number one, be aware that it's possible. So just because of that, if you start to feel different or whatever, you may or may not know that something's going on. I tend to know. And in other ways, you can't. How can you prevent something that's invisible pop into your head? How many times have you had a thought pop into your head, like, where did that come from? You know, and it could be a bad thought, like, oh, I hate that person. Why don't you just go hit him over the head or kick him? And you're like, no, I would never do that. Where did that come from? You know, I went through a period where I was getting thoughts like that in high school. Like, I would tell them, I said, sometimes just to bash the person in the face. You know, like this. It was horrible. I'm like, but, well, you know, you're not supposed to do that. I said, well, I know, but why the heck is it saying this? You know, was it a psychological? It was a couple things. It was one because of anxiety and everything with my father. And he was so upset you just wanted to lash out and people would understand you. But also was we had a negative entity in the house that was also angry and wanted to take the anger out on me or anybody else. So it was two things going on. It could be a personal thing, it could be something else. But when you open yourself up too much to this stuff, you sit there and meditate and go, okay, I want to talk to all the spirits, everybody just come on in. Right? I've made mistakes of that twice. I was so cocky at times because things were getting so good and amazing when we were doing Dead Famous. We were at the Winchester house, and I'll never forget this. Gail and I got in a huge fight. Huge. The director was yelling at me, how could you bring this up? And I had to. Me and the cameraman wanted to know. And she was so mad that they separated us. And she had been with another psychic and said they saw a face in the seance room in the Winchester. I go, really? All right, well, I'm going to go connect with you. So I walk in there. They tell me, you know, seance hasn't been done here in 20 years. I said, I used to do seances all the time as a kid. Don't worry, it'll come through, right? I didn't protect myself. I didn't ground myself. I didn't tell the other side that was there what I can or can't do. And I didn't tell them, if something does happen, don't be alarmed, I'll take care of it. All of a sudden, these spirits were all lined up at the door. They were coming through like a football team coming through to play a game. And just boom, 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 boom. I couldn't stop them. I was being torn every which way. I felt like my body was being torn apart. My soul was being torn apart. They were speaking through me at the same time, at different times, forcing themselves in, forcing the other ones out. It was like they all wanted to speak at the same time. It was the most painful psychic experience I've ever had in my life. And I hope to never do that again, but it was my own fault. It took me 2 days to finally settle down and get rid of them. And when someone says, well, there's no such thing as possession, I said, I wish you were there to see it. I showed the tape to John Zaffis and Adam Blythe. They're like, oh my God, they had no respect for you whatsoever. I said, yeah, but it was my fault. So you can't open yourself up to the whole thing. You have to set parameters. That's a great question. Is you have to say, okay, I'm doing this for such and such person because I need information to assist them. The information needs to come from you. So I'm asking, will you please send me information so I can help this individual? I want it to be from someone that has unconditional love, knows the person, is their spirit guide or their angel, or from the Creator himself. Because you just say, hey, does anybody out there want to talk to me, help this person? There might be some spirits going, yeah. Hey, you got to do this, then you got to do this, then you got to do that. What? That's right, you got to do that. You can't, and that'll happen. Ouija boards are just famous for that. Who am I talking to? Oh, I'm a little girl. Yeah. And they'll say things. And why would you say that, little girl? Because I'm a little girl. And they're not a little girl. It's a demon or some other entity. And that can happen. How do you know if you can't see the person who the heck you're talking to? But when you follow some of these things, these mindsets, and things to think about, and purify yourself and everything, your intentions, they can't get through that. Because that's a prayer that's going right up there to the heavens. And someone's going to answer that at a high level because it's important to help that person or deliver that information. Next. Yes?
How do you connect with your spirit guides or angels or help on them?
I don't know what my spirit guides are doing. I don't know who they are or what they're doing. I don't think I have to rent the spirit guide or something. Who's got Chris today on a lobby at 8:57? It's like, I don't know. I'm so upset that I don't know who these people are. Her question was, how do you know how to connect with the spirit guides?
Or, yeah, right.
Okay, or angels.
Or yours.
There's not one person that I talked to when I was a kid. I used to talk to Henry, which was pretty cool, But I don't have anybody right now. And I don't even know who my spirit guides are. I remember back in 96 or whatever, when I read Embraced by the Light, I was so mad that, some people have spirit guides and this and that, and I don't know who my spirit guide is, that I said, you know what? I want to know who my spirit guide is. Gosh darn it, this is wrong. And I was so upset. So the second night after saying that, my girlfriend at the time, she's in bed next to me, she's reading a book, and she's thumbing through the pages, and she's thrusting, I'm trying to sleep, please. I go, you go somewhere else in the house and read. I'm trying to sleep. And she's like, fine. So she goes out, I'm a crab when it comes to sleep, and I need my sleep. But I'm laying in bed. All of a sudden I feel as if somebody's getting into bed. And they're still getting into bed. And they're still getting into bed. Whoa! There was this person floating right above me, about 2 feet away. I kick my foot up and I go like this, like get away, because it's first reaction. Recognize it, get off me. Shoots to the ceiling, and here's this person in this robe, long, dark hair, something that they would have in the early, beginning of time or whatever. I don't know. It was very ancient, like a robe, like a monk or something, and just floating there. And I'm looking at it, going and all of a sudden this peacefulness, and as if it was saying, whoa! I startled it as much as it startled me. It didn't expect me to wake up like that. And then I remember the night before it appeared at the edge of my bed and said something to me, but then did something, and I went back to sleep. Here it was floating there, and I'm like, it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. I just wanted to present myself to you. I'm like, hi. All of a sudden, she walks in right there. She goes, what was that scream for? I go, get out. Oh, and then you see it fade, and it went away. I go, I just saw a ghost. She goes, a ghost? Just like Scooby-Doo. I said, no, not a ghost. It was, I don't know what it was. It was a something. I go, maybe it was my spirit guide. And I think it was. I don't know his name. All I know is he's old. And he was hovering there. I haven't seen him since. I think I was scared. He's like, forget this, man. He's scared. So I don't know how you connect with the spirit guides. When I do what I do, I just connect with the universe, and they could be the spirit guides of that person, maybe. They can be, there's only, I think, 2 readings I've ever done where the spirit guide for that person said who they were, you know? And it's like, I am this person, you know? Wait, I just had one the other day, or yesterday. I had someone that said they had like 4 different spirit guides. But I forget. The thing is that's cool about this, my biggest fear, and I was going to be a psychologist. When I was studying, I said, you know what, I want to be a psychologist. And I thought, do I really want to deal with all these mental disorders of every single person going home and doing this? I think I was supposed to complete my degree, but I didn't. But now, when I do these readings, these things happen to people. Sometimes things are horrible, some things are wonderful and beautiful. It's all part of who we are. After a couple hours or 2, they're gone. They're not there anymore. You know, it's like I've become a part of that, I'm a part of a whole bunch of things, and I've experienced what they've experienced, but then I've experienced everything else. And it's all just part of being here. So it doesn't bother me anymore. But the thing is, you know, if you want to talk to your spirit guides, you have to say, I've done it. They're like, no, you're talking to me. They're like this. They don't want to talk to me. It's like, and I think it's because that's not the purpose to talk to your spirit guide. It's not about you. It's about you talking about these other spirits to help these people. They said, we'll talk to you when we need to, but not right now. So, but you may be able to talk to your spirit guide or your angels. You know, I can't tell you what your connection is going to be. I don't have that capability. We got 2 more questions. Actually, 1 more, I'm sorry. 1 more question. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
I just happen to think about, it seems like on so many paranormal investigations, there's always one entity that says, get out.
Of course.
And I'm thinking, why do they all say that?
Okay, all right. How many of you in this room would love a bunch of people of all different dimensions and sizes coming into your house with equipment? Some know how to use the equipment, some don't, making a bunch of noise, stomping around, going, hey, let's go to this room, let's go to that room, hey, why don't you sit there? Oh, watch out for that, boom. How many people would you let these people come into your house and not even acknowledge that you're there? Nobody would, right? And not leave, be there till 2 in the morning when you got to sleep and you got to do chores, you got to do all these other things? Nobody. These spirits and ghosts that occupy these buildings, restaurants, houses, that's their home. They live there. They're used to, at nighttime, that's mostly when we investigate, for being peaceful and quiet. For them walking around going, my existence sucks. You know, just walking around the whole place. But then when these people come in, like, what are these people doing here? You're interrupting my peace, my nirvana, right? I'm stuck in this restaurant near the bathroom, but this is my nirvana. You know, I'm being sarcastic, obviously. But the reason why I'm saying this is because it's simple. You know, they want to be left alone. Some of them are in despair. Some of them are upset. Some of them are in private hell. Some of them are just hanging out. They want to be left alone. So that's why they say, get out. Get out of here. They won't listen to me. You know, and we get stuff. It's crazy stuff. Last night I got an EVP. It was clear as day. It says, get the hell out of here, Chris. 3 times on the recorder. I was only there more than 5 minutes. Like, well, I just got here. Well, anyway, I want to thank you all. I have to pack up real quick and take off. While I'm packing up, if you're interested in anything, let me know. But God bless you guys. Thanks for coming. Thank you.